Tens of thousands of Iranian women have gone on the streets since the September 16, 2022 death of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini in Tehran, repeating "Women, Life, Freedom." These demonstrations are an extension of a battle that started in 1979 and are just the latest example of a long tradition of feminist opposition in Iran. Do you know what is happening in Iran currently? Well, most of you must know that Iran's women are now not afraid of anything. In this video, you will be getting to know when actually the women's revolution in Iran started and what was actually its purpose. Let's get into the video now. Thousands of Iranian women went on the streets in the weeks following the revolution in 1979. Riots began on International Women's Day, March 8, 1979. Just then, Ayatollah Khomeini promulgated a decree ordering all women to wear veils in public. The Iranian Revolution of 1979 was sparked by the ideal of liberty. Massive groups of women were mobilized to take on the Shah in a way never seen before because of this concept. There were people like Minoueh Jalali. She participated in the revolution in 1979 and the subsequent women's protest in London, where she is now a retired lawyer. Jalali, like millions of other Iranians, went on strike to protest the Shah's repressive regime, social and economic injustice, and foreign dominance. She reported seeing an inspiring display of community spirit and bravery among the people. The army's attack, in which perhaps 100 people perished, marked a watershed moment, and there was clearly no indication of panic among the crowd. Jalali, however, thinks gradual forces greatly underrated the power and organization of religious powers during that time. The attacks on minorities, political opponents, and women's rights started within weeks of his taking office. Jalali, like many others, wished the revolution would allow competing political groups in Iran to lay out their plans for a better future. News of March 8th celebrations marking International Women's Day began appearing in newspapers less than 6 days after the revolution. She participated in planning one of Tehran's many March 8th celebrations that year. On the other hand, Ayatollah Khomeini issued an order on March 7th requiring women to cover their hair and faces when entering state buildings. Mass demonstrations would break out during what were intended to be festivities. As the morning of March 8th unfolded, tens of thousands of women gathered in Tehran outside the new Prime Minister's office, and another 3,000 traveled to the religious city of Qom, where Khomeini stayed to join the protests there. A large group of women stormed the commemoration at Tehran University that morning by forcing their way into the packed auditorium. They recounted to the audience how pro-regime thugs had verbally and physically assaulted them in the streets. There was a short-lived thriving of women's affiliations in the worksite, women's particular commissions in political organizations, and even independent women's organizations that were self-reliant on any major parties before the 1980s, when the government's violent clampdown on the opponents exacerbated. At the helm of one such group was Shaheen Navai. She co-founded the National Union of Women (NUW) in 1979 while teaching entomology at the University of Tehran. In 1981, the Iranian government made veiling mandatory for all women over the age of 9. Separation of the sexes at public venues like workplaces, schools, beaches, and sporting events accompanied. And a number of new laws tilt the balances against women in areas such as divorce, parental rights, hereditary, civic participation, and retaliation. And so, over the years, feminist activists have mounted a variety of initiatives in reaction, and women continue to fight back in their daily lives. 5 years before the rallies over Mahsa Amini's death, in December 2017, a young woman named Vida Movahed reached the top of a utility box on one of Tehran's major roads. She waved her white scarf on a large pole coolly as she stayed there bored. Her act of rebellion gained widespread attention. Images of other Iranian women removing their hijabs in the audience quickly spread online. We hope that the summary has been useful in learning about the beginning of the Iranian women's revolution. What is your point of view on these protests and revolutions? Tell us in the comments and press the subscribe and like buttons to not miss the next video. Thanks and have a great day.